It's Thursday, May 7th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Assassinated for a gold chain. A judge sentences a killer to life in prison. Why one pharmacy chain is pulling energy drinks from maritime stores.
Not a bad Friday in the forecast with just a low chance of showers. It'll be a mix of sun and showers for the weekend ahead.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. We'll have those stories in a moment, but after a month, there appears to be some movement in the Nova Scotia nursing home strike. The union and the province are back at the bargaining table at this hour. Late this afternoon, CTV News learned that a formal request to resume negotiations was sent by the union to the province. And earlier today, that request was accepted. Talks, as I mentioned, began about an hour ago. Both sides are ready to present counter proposals with the hope of finding common ground on a new contract for workers in long-term care homes across Nova Scotia. We're told the picket lines will stay up until a new deal is reached. Employees from 31 of 52 homes represented by CUPE have been on strike since the 13th of April, and should something come up within the hour that we're on the air, of course, we will bring that to you. It was a crime that shocked the greater Moncton area. 2 seniors shot and killed inside their home. The killer, convicted of murder in March, was sentenced today. CTV's Derek Haggett was in court.
Relief and closure for the Saulnier family.
We can't explain. What a relief today is. Yeah.
Jansen Baker was sentenced to life imprisonment without being eligible for parole for 25 years for the murders of Bernard and Rosemarie Saulnier. The mandatory sentences will be served concurrently. The Dieppe couple were both shot in the head inside their home on September 7, 2019. Exactly 4 years later, Baker was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Today, court heard 7 emotional victim impact statements.
Oh my gosh. And they did speak so well with their emotions. I mean,
Luc Saulnier, the victim's oldest son, said, "Shattered. We are shattered." Other family members spoke about nightmares, anxiety, fear, and a never-ending grief. Baker sat motionless and stared from the prisoner's dock. Before the judge sentenced Baker, he asked him if he had anything to say. Baker replied, "No, not really. It's under appeal. I'll have my day in court." Baker's attorney confirmed Baker is in fact filing an appeal.
It can take some time. It's a complicated case. There were a number of legal rulings. There were a number of rulings that, in my view, are problematic and probably upon review reversible, but we'll see.
Justice Cameron Gunn spoke directly to Baker, saying, "You took the lives of 2 elderly, helpless people in the sanctity of their home. You herded them like animals into a bedroom. You assassinated them for the price of a gold chain." Baker is also prohibited from possessing firearms and weapons for life, and from having any communication with anyone who read their victim impact statements today. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
And there's a significant update on another high-profile murder case in Moncton. 2 people charged with the first-degree murder of Melissa Price have had their charges reduced. They are now facing second-degree murder. Price's body was discovered in a garbage bin at the bottom of a Moncton street in February. Devlin Oblinus and Leandra Beaulieu were charged with first-degree murder, but the RCMP laid new charges in court today. Price's parents were present in the courtroom but declined to comment on the change in charges. The pair will be back in court later this month. A former Halifax bouncer appealing a manslaughter conviction was back in court today after being sentenced to prison. A judge granted Alexander Levi bail pending his upcoming appeal. CTV's Callum Smith has the details.
Alexander Levy is led into a courtroom only 2 weeks after being sentenced to 4 years in prison. A judge convicted the former bouncer of manslaughter and criminal negligence causing death of Ryan Sawyer outside the Halifax Ale House on Christmas Eve of 2022. Levy is appealing his convictions and, until then, applied to be released. The Crown opposed, bringing both sides to court today.
Essentially, we had argued that the appeal grounds were weak and that the offense committed or that he was convicted of was strong, and for that reason, public confidence would favor him being held in custody.
But the defense argued the trial judge made numerous errors in finding Levy guilty, and that when an error central to the verdict is made, a person shouldn't serve a sentence when there is a, quote, reasonable possibility of a successful appeal.
We have certainly a strong appeal to mount, and we think that it is just that he is released so that if, of course, we're successful, he hasn't served a term in jail that was unnecessary.
The defense raised what it called the strongest element of its appeal today, the time that Levy was choking Ryan Sawyer. Trial judge Justice James Chipman agreed with the Crown that Levy choked bar-goer Ryan Sawyer for about 2 minutes, but today the defense showed surveillance video arguing that it could have only been 30 seconds, not 2 minutes.
As we demonstrated today in court, that's impossible. So we think that's a critical error. It justifies his analysis on conviction for manslaughter and self-defense. Effectively, the length of the hold is a very important finding, and we think he's just clearly in error making that finding.
Today, Justice David Farrar was satisfied that Levy's appeal is not frivolous, that he is not a flight risk, and that his detention is not necessary in the public interest. Levy's mother testified as his surety. She pledged $10,000 against her house for his release. His conditions include a daily curfew, not working at a bar or nightclub, or anywhere that would involve use of force against the public, and surrendering his passport. Levy was then taken by sheriffs to sign paperwork before being released. Now, at numerous points today, Levy could be seen wiping tears from his eyes. He's been staying at the Burnside jail until today's hearing. As for the actual appeal, that will be heard in court in October. Levy is seeking the convictions be set aside and acquittals entered, or a new trial be ordered, or that his current sentence be reduced to an 18-month conditional sentence. Until that time, he's free on conditions. Todd.
All right, CTV's Callum Smith in the newsroom with us tonight. A Halifax police officer accused of selling stolen bicycles has pleaded not guilty to 4 charges against her. 39-year-old Fallon Sarah Clark and her lawyer appeared by phone and pleaded not guilty to a number of charges, including possession of property obtained by crime over $5,000. The investigation started after allegations about the sale of stolen items, including bicycles. Clark was charged by the Serious Incident Response Team in the fall. She has elected a judge-alone trial in Supreme Court. A pre-trial will begin later this month. Energy drinks have become a popular go-to for young people in particular, looking for a jolt. But criticism of the high caffeine, high sugar drinks has been growing. Now, one pharmacy chain is pulling them from stores in the Maritimes. CTV's Josh Smith reports.
I think it's now time for the government to move upon and to move with a serious piece of legislation that would allow us to protect the children.
A Quebec politician tabled a petition to ban energy drink sales to minors under 16. That move followed the death of a 15-year-old Quebec boy who reportedly drank a can while on ADHD medication.
The Léger poll stated 86% of Quebecers are supporting the measure.
A petition gathered 35,000 signatures. Now a Quebec-based company that owns Jean Coutu outlets in New Brunswick now says they're pulling energy drinks from 455 stores in both provinces.
So I just don't think they're really safe for anybody under, especially under the age of 20.
Here at home, this Moncton pharmacist says caffeine isn't the only concern. Another common ingredient can have safety issues in higher amounts.
They're also laced with taurine, which is an amino acid, and that can have deleterious effects on the heart. So it might stimulate maybe AFib or some kind of irregular heartbeat.
High school students in Moncton say energy drinks are a regular part of student life.
I have had maybe 1 or 2 just to try them, but they're not my personal favorite.
Like, I see a lot of students bringing back like 4 or 6 Red Bulls and being like, oh, trying to build up my tolerance, but it's really bad for them. So I definitely support that, yeah.
It wouldn't fix it, but it would definitely be a step in the right direction.
In a statement to CTV News, The Canadian Beverage Association says it respects the decisions of all retailers and says energy drinks are already strictly regulated by Health Canada's Supplemented Food Regulatory Framework, a rigorous evidence-based framework mandating product caffeine limits, packaging to clearly disclose caffeine content, and a cautionary statement outlining those who may be sensitive to caffeine. Clear communication, transparent labeling, and public education remain our strongest tools for ensuring informed caffeine consumption for all consumers, regardless of age. CTV reached out to Jean Coutu following their decision for comment, but the company responded by saying it had no announcements to make. Josh Smith, CTV News, Moncton.
In tonight's CTV web poll, we're asking, do you think energy drinks should be pulled from store shelves? Your options are yes, they need better regulation. No, but they shouldn't be sold to youth. Or no, people should be able to buy them if they want to. And we would like your selection at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. There's a live look at Highland Links Golf Course in Ingonish, where it is currently, yes, raining, just about everywhere else. 9 degrees. Let's get our first look at the weather with CTV meteorologist Caleb Mitchell. And that is the story of the day in one photo right there.
Yeah, not the greatest day to be hitting the links in parts of the Maritimes, that's for sure. Of course, we know that this rain will be good in the long run for the golf courses around the region, lawns, gardens as well. There was a fair bit of it that came in with this weather system. I only have preliminary rainfall reports right now, but many of those are in the range of around 15 to 35 millimeters. And that rain at times did include a couple downpours and a couple small thunderstorms. In the process of clearing Cape Breton right now. Taking a look at temperatures at the moment, they're mostly sitting around the low to mid-teens around the region. We do have a couple spots that are a little bit cooler, like Edmundston in the northwest, New Brunswick, sitting at around 9 degrees. And compared to the past couple of nights, temperatures tonight are going to be getting a little bit cooler. Taking a look at the winds, they were gusty at times today, but they've been gradually becoming a little bit lighter as we made our way through the afternoon and now into the evening. What's left of some somewhat gustier wind conditions, that's with the rain in parts of Cape Breton, where at Sydney, there was gusts being reported around 50 kilometers per hour, but even those now are beginning to come down as that rain is clearing off towards the northeast. Now, in behind it, there's going to be a little bit of cloud cover around for tonight, some patchy drizzle and fog. There's still a couple of showers active right now through northern and western areas of New Brunswick, and actually a little small thunderstorm just popped up in around the Edmundston area. It's not going to last very long, though. That type of shower activity is going to be coming to an end as we make our way through this evening and tonight. Speaking of showers, though, coming up for tomorrow, it's more of a mix of sun and cloud in the Maritimes, so we could see a couple showers pop up afternoon into evening. The weekend ahead, sort of a mix of both some sunshine and some showery conditions, and we'll get into all the details of that, Todd, when I'm back a little bit later.
Okay, and we'll get an update on that little system up there in the northwest. Thank you, Kalen. Yeah. Now, heavy rain may have been a factor in a single vehicle crash in Nova Scotia's Annapolis Valley. Fire crews had to break the front windshield to remove the driver from the vehicle. This happened just after the noon hour on Highway 101 at exit 8A in the community of Lockhartville. We're told there's no word on the driver's injuries, but they are believed to be life-threatening. They are not, believed to be life-threatening. That is the good news. Workers at the Sussex dairy plant went into a union meeting with little hope of keeping their jobs beyond the closure date. By the time it was over, they were feeling somewhat optimistic. CTV's Avery McRae tells us why.
It's been an anxiety-filled 2 weeks for people like Donnie Kerr, who works at the Sussex area Agroport dairy plant. But after a meeting yesterday with union reps, for the first time, he has some hope.
Feel a little bit better having met with them, and there's been a lot of anxiety over the past few weeks after learning. But it's nice to finally have a few questions answered.
2 weeks ago, staff from Dairytown learned that the plant would cease operations by the end of 2028, resulting in 60 job losses in the community. For around an hour, employees spoke with union officials from Unifor in a closed-door meeting. While no one would discuss what was said in the meeting, workers like John Bellier left feeling more optimistic.
We're positive, morale-wise, and, in the future of the company, whichever way it goes, we're staying positive about it.
Staff described the mood at the plant as low since the news broke, as they saw no indication of what was coming down the line.
This was a big shocker. We had no clue this was going to happen. Our plant was just functioning normal and like every day.
As for what comes next following the meetings, Atlantic Regional Director for Unifor, Jennifer Murray, says the province will continue to put pressure on both the province and Agripor in hopes of finding a way to save the facility. But at the same time, she wants workers to know things won't change overnight.
It's pretty gloomy to think that in a very short period of time, our members may be out of work, but the key message here is that their union has their backs.
The union says none of the 60 workers at Dairytown has yet to receive an official layoff notice. Ava McRae, CTV News, Sussex, New Brunswick.
There's plenty more reporting on this if you want to read it at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Spring is busy on New Brunswick farms. Still, 100 farmers led by a former premier descended on the legislature today to protest government cuts to vet services. Former Progressive Conservative premier and farmer David Alward was among those watching from the public gallery. Farmers have been in Fredericton a few times now protesting the province's plans to stop large animal vet and lab services. The cut, announced in the March budget, is supposed to save $4 million. The province's Agricultural Alliance says it won't let up until the cut is reversed.
So I think it's very clear now that they've got to change their tack, and they need to reconsider.
We cannot meet the need with the model that we have today, which is why our government is taking a careful approach to a slow and seamless transition.
That was a premier, of course, but Agriculture Minister Pat Finnegan also said a feasibility study is underway to determine the future of lab services in the province, insisting no outcome has been predetermined. Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston was back in the office today after another trip to Texas to drum up interest in oil and gas exploration. While he defended the merits of the visit, he again had nothing concrete to show for it. That has critics claiming there's little interest in what he's selling. Here's Jesse Thomas from Province House.
Premier Tim Houston is back from Texas, his second trip to the heart of America's energy sector in little over a month. The international engagement has become a priority to attracting energy investment in Nova Scotia.
You don't get that level of interest and that level of commitment from sitting in question period across the street. You get that by going out and looking people in the eye and building relationships.
The Premier pointed to a $210 million offshore oil and gas exploration license that was approved last week for Inceptio Oil and Gas, a UK-based company whose CEO is from Nova Scotia. The company received the go-ahead to explore 2 parcels off the coast of Nova Scotia. Houston says it's a sign of momentum building from his promotional work abroad.
So I would say the fruits are, we're seeing the fruits of the efforts already. There's more to be had.
But the opposition say the Premier is overstating the impact of his international trips and points out the same company applied for an offshore exploration license in 2023, only to be denied.
But those bids were coming regardless of those trips. It's more rhetoric from the Premier, who didn't really focus on economic development at all in his first term.
A change in federal leadership has helped change the perspective on energy development.
What was different this time? Justin Trudeau is now gone.
Houston told reporters the former Trudeau government wasn't going to entertain offshore wind development opportunities if oil and gas projects were approved along the same coastal waters. Houston said Nova Scotia is still playing catch-up when it comes to oil and gas, pointing to previous government's policies that banned and restricted development. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A financial lifesaver has been thrown to Canada's coastal communities. Over the next 5 years, $1 billion in government money will be spent to get small wharves in shape. Some of that money will go to the rebuilding of a portion of the main wharf and other docks at Sambro Harbour. Small craft harbors support more than 45,000 jobs in the seafood industry in this country, and some say the money is badly needed.
Our issues down here is our infrastructure is falling down around us. That's what our issues are, and today we finally got, hopefully, something to help us out with that.
Last year, seafood exports totaled more than $8 billion. The Federal Minister of Fisheries will join us in studio later in this newscast. We're going to step aside for a moment. We have Kaylin Mitchell's full forecast still ahead. Before that, though, the latest from the Middle East.
The White House has proposed a short-term deal to Iran aimed at reopening the Strait of Hormuz. I'm Christiane Cordero in Washington with those details coming up.
This is your campfire conditions report, valid until 2 p.m. on May 8th, brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends. And with the wet weather moving across the Maritimes, no surprise that we don't find much in the way of restrictions. New Brunswick is currently open to Category 1 fires, including campfires. For the province of Nova Scotia, no restrictions on campfires or Category 1 fires, except for the usual during fire season, which is that those fires are only permitted between the hours of 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. And for the province of Prince Edward Island, campfires are currently permitted, but Category 1 domestic brush burning is restricted to the hours of 2 p.m. to 8 a.m. Remember, as well as checking in on the provincial restrictions, to check in on any municipal bylaws and restrictions as well. For your campfire conditions report, I'm Kayla Mitchell.
The Trump administration has sent Iran a proposal aimed at reopening the Strait of Hormuz. It could then pave the way for a more comprehensive nuclear deal. ABC's Christiane Cordero with the latest from Washington.
Today, some 1,500 vessels near the Strait of Hormuz are waiting for a potential breakthrough in negotiations between the U.S. and Iran. Iranian state TV says officials there are working with Pakistani mediators going over the U.S. proposal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has not shared a formal response to the one-page memo, which includes Iran easing some control over the strait and the U.S. ending its blockade. President Trump is threatening to reignite the war if Iran doesn't come to the table. The U.S. and some Gulf state allies also drafted a UN Security Council resolution in an attempt to force Iran into reopening the strait by clearing it of sea mines and tolls.
We believe in some basic fundamental principles, namely the freedom of navigation for the entire world's economies.
Global energy prices have surged in the 10 weeks since the war began. The CEO of Shell said in its earnings call today that the company will not move any vessels through the Strait of Hormuz until they have full conviction it is safe to do so, which he says they do not. Oil prices have slid slightly in the past 2 days since potential negotiations were renewed.
2 weeks ago, we did see the same situation. It did lead to a temporary drop in gasoline prices, only for them to then go higher when Iran essentially walked away from that.
The administration is framing this short-term agreement as a first step that could lay the groundwork for a more long-term nuclear deal. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Still to come, a look ahead to the weekend weather. Kalen is back with his full maritime forecast. Things clear up after this. People of the port city, go outside. You've got sunshine. Take advantage of it. And 12 degrees, which isn't bad either. I don't know what the winds are like, Kayla Mitchell, but
they've come down by quite a bit.
Yeah,
so
that's a pleasant evening in St. John.
Maybe just a little bit of a light breeze right now. Yeah. Now, New Brunswick, remember, got into this weather front first. There were parts of that province into the rain yesterday, so they're clear through it first as well. So that's why they're seeing some sunshine breaking through. And speaking of New Brunswick and some sunshine, I got a beautiful cloud picture to show you at the end of the show tonight, coming in from Temperance Vale, New Brunswick. So that'll be a nice one to see. Let's take a look at weather conditions across the country. We'll go back to what's going to be changing for the maritime weather over the next 24 hours in a moment. There is some sunshine out west right now. Got 15 degrees at Vancouver, 19 at Prince George, 20 degrees right now at Fort St. John and at Fort McMurray. In Alberta as well, we got Edmonton sitting at 21 and Calgary sitting at 20 degrees, 14 at the moment for Saskatoon and Regina, and 11 at Winnipeg. Up north, mix of sun and cloud, 9 degrees at Whitehorse, cloudier conditions at Yellowknife, sitting at 7. Iqaluit is cooler with a temperature of 1 degree. Southern Ontario right now, things cool down a little bit. 13 degrees at Windsor, 11 at Toronto, as well as Ottawa. And then here in the Maritimes, that sun breaking through at the end of the day for areas of New Brunswick. Some temperatures have come up towards the mid to high teens. Fredericton right now sitting at 17 degrees, a little bit cooler, 12 at Halifax and Charlottetown, 9 degrees at St. John's, and reporting rain, and that is part of the same weather system that has brought the Maritime region rain. So taking a look at our timeline for cloud cover and precipitation as we make our way through this evening. The last of the rain is in the process, the steady rain that is in the process of clearing Cape Breton. Basically, right now, it's headed up over the Cabot Strait, more of it going into Newfoundland. There is a scattering of some showers around north and western areas of New Brunswick. A couple of small little thunderstorms within those showers, but a lot of that's going to be coming to an end as we make our way through this evening, down to basically a low chance of a shower in the north of New Brunswick by around midnight. During the overnight, partly cloudy conditions with some patchy fog and drizzle around the Maritimes, but any fog that is around will be dissipating as we move through Friday morning. And much of Friday should be a fair weather mix of sun and cloud for the Maritimes, but afternoon into evening, some of those initially little white puffy cumulus clouds will tower up a little bit higher, might get a little bit darker at the bottom, and in some cases produce a couple of spotty showers. There will be a chance of showers across New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, much of Nova Scotia Friday afternoon to Friday evening, though their coverage is going to be so isolated that for most communities it's around a 30 or 40% chance. And they'd be coming to an end once we lose daytime heating, and so that means moving through the evening and nighttime hours, they basically wind down. And in the forecast for Saturday, it's a mix of sun and cloud. Winds in the forecast for tomorrow will be out of the northwest, and they're going to be a little bit breezy with some gusts between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. That's down compared to the last couple of days. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight around parts of the Maritimes will be mostly falling down to around the low to mid single digits, a little bit milder than that around the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. And here's a look at the high temperatures for Friday. So in the north of New Brunswick, those highs will be in the range of 10 to 14 degrees. Again, mix of sun and cloud, relatively low chance of a shower for any given community. It's down through central and southern areas of New Brunswick. High temperatures tomorrow, 10 to 14 degrees. For Prince Edward Island on Friday, the high temperatures mostly between 10 and 12, though 8 degrees on parts of the coast. In the east of Nova Scotia for tomorrow, it's high temperatures of 9 to 14 in Cape Breton, kind of warmest or mildest towards the interior of the island. Near 13 degrees for the north shore of Nova Scotia, and high temperatures between 10 and 12 degrees on the eastern shore. 15 for the city centres, Halifax and Dartmouth for tomorrow, 14 at Truro and 13 for Amherst. In the Annapolis Valley, 13 for Kentville and Middleton. And on the south shore of Nova Scotia, 15 for Liverpool and Shelburne, then 11 for Yarmouth and Barrington. In the extended outlook for New Brunswick, coming up on Saturday, start of the weekend, a mix of sun and cloud. High temperatures around the mid to high teens. Showers return to the forecast for Sunday. After that, on Monday, it should be mostly cloudy during the day, with rain now looking more likely Monday night and maybe holding on into Tuesday. After that, it's a mix of sun and cloud in the forecast for Wednesday and Thursday. For Nova Scotia, mix of sun and cloud on Saturday. Looks like it's going to be a pretty nice day. On Sunday, cloudier, showers expected. Monday, pretty cloudy. Rain looking more likely now, Monday night into Tuesday. After that, Wednesday, a mix of sun and cloud, and that'll be a chance of showers in behind that for Thursday. And for Prince Edward Island, coming up for the start of the weekend on Saturday, mix of sun and cloud, highs near 15 degrees. 14 on Sunday with some showers returning. It's a chance of showers during the day on Monday, then rain possible Monday night into Tuesday. After that, it's a mix of sun and cloud for Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Todd.
Far into the forecast there is a long weekend. I'd like to put in my order now for all sunshine if possible.
Yeah, it's always best to get those orders in early so I can start processing them right away.
Good. Consider it done. Thanks. We'll see you in that photo at the end of the show. Next, we have a few questions for the Federal Minister of Fisheries. Stay with us.
All right, Friday tomorrow, 5K a day continues. Get your keywords starting with us after 7 a.m.
Make sure to tune in as well. Someone is winning $1,000 to Charm Diamond Centers.
Welcome back. As you saw earlier, Ottawa is spending $1 billion in the coming years to repair and rebuild Canada's crumbling small boat wharves and docks. Canada's Fisheries Minister made the announcement today, and Joanne Thompson joins us in studio. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
A little drier in here than it was in Samborough.
It was still beautiful.
Of course, you're used to that. You're from St. John's, and so we all share this wonderful spring weather. $1 billion over the next few years. Really a recognition that Canada's wharves have been neglected in many cases and have suffered because of storms and other things, but probably particular here on the East Coast.
So first of all, let me tell you I'm delighted to be here, and I really appreciate your comment that it is a real indication that, you know, the sector matters, and almost $1 billion, historic amount of money for small craft harbors. It is important. And, you know, also to your point, we've seen the effects of climate change on the infrastructures, and Hurricane Fiona, you know, do we forget that horrific impact? And so this is an indication that, you know, we understand that we need to ensure that that infrastructure is safe and able to support the industry going forward. And this is a clear indication that we're here to work with industry, we're here to work with our harvesters, and fisheries matters.
How do you prioritize who will get the money? That's always the big question.
You know, I say the same way I do, you know, all the tasks before me. We sit with people first. So the first thing that's going to happen is dialogue. We'll sit with people closest to the sector, those on the wharf, the people in the communities, and then, you know, move out from there. But it really is about listening first, and then the priorities will come from there.
All right. We're heading into lobster. There has been a lobster season, of course, underway, but we're heading into the busy summer season. You were recently overseas talking up Canadian seafood and lobster, and we know about the trade issues that we had with China. Where do you see the lobster trade in perhaps through the CUPE negotiations and with the markets overseas?
Well, to the U.S. first, certainly I have, you know, very strong group of colleagues who are negotiating, and I have full faith in their abilities. In terms of Europe, I was in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago, and I can say with full confidence that the EU value Canadian seafood. It is highly desirable, and so that is an opportunity for us to be able to look to new markets, and I think that's always important. High value, value-added product. So there's great opportunities, and, you know, we, as the Prime Minister likes to say, we do, or we work in the areas that things that we can control, and certainly I know, you know, their southern friends, an important market for us, but at the same time we can diversify, and I think, you know, we should do both.
A recent crackdown, the DFO, provincial governments on the East Coast here recognizing that hundreds of millions of dollars of lobster landings are not being declared at the wharf. That's tax money that's not being returned to taxpayers and to governments. How are you going to deal with that? The provinces are adding more fisheries officers. There are more inspections. How big a problem is it?
So what I can say at the starting point is I was very clear when I came into this role that we support authorized fishing, period. And we have followed through on that. I want to thank the fisheries officers for the work that they do. It's been really remarkable. And then I also want to acknowledge my counterparts in the Atlantic region, because they've worked alongside. So, you know, from DFO perspective, you know, we do the work to the wharf, and then, you know, we work with our provincial partners beyond that in terms of what happens in communities. But you know, orderly fisheries, the safe fisheries for all is a priority, and authorized fishing.
There's discontent continues on the wharves about between commercial fishers, Indigenous crews. There is, you know, debate about interpretation of court decisions. Where do you stand on that?
What I will say clearly is, look, I work through dialogue, through communication. I continue to follow that principle. We work together, and you know, the premise is that we have authorized fishing, period, and then, you know, the rest of the work is really about how we work together and how we stay in communication.
All right. Mackerel fisheries closed. any potential that might be reopened?
So, with any fishery, science is the backbone of what we do, but I also recognize that harvesters have tremendous knowledge. They're on the water, and I respect what they see, respect what industry has to say, their perspective, and so we do both. I've had a series of meetings around the region.
Has the stock stabilized? Because there is some say.
We will have a decision shortly, but what I want to say in the decision-making process, it really balanced both perspectives, and then you find that safe space in between. I mean, I recognize the socioeconomic importance 100%, but at the same time, we need to be able to manage the stock, and it's that delicate balance between both, and I'm committed to that process.
Okay, so we'll look for something there in the near future, I hope. Thank you very much for coming in, Minister.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That's Canada's Fisheries Minister. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with much more after this.
Murphy's Logic is brought to you by Kent Building Supplies. Look what we've built together. The opinions expressed in this segment are solely those of the commentator. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of this station, CTV News, Bell Media, or its employees.
Tonight, Steve Murphy has some thoughts on why there seems to be a lack of information from governments.
In this age of social media, people have become accustomed to making and hearing one-sided statements about anything and everything. Others are free to respond or rebut, but there's no real dialogue unless the participants choose to engage one another. All too often when they do, it is not a civil conversation or debate so much as an exchange of sometimes anonymous opinions, or all too often insults. Not surprisingly, it's also become quite routine for politicians to use social media to make statements to citizens, voters, without the filter of the news media, reporters or interviewers, or their political adversaries. The Prime Minister recently made important comments about the state of Canada-U.S. relations on YouTube, rather than in a speech to Parliament or at a news conference where he might have been held accountable for his views. Before the advent of social media, leaders who wanted to bypass the legislature and journalists had to request or commandeer airtime from media platforms, radio or TV stations or networks, and they did so only rarely, usually during extraordinary times. No longer. YouTube and X and other platforms are instantly available to virtually everyone. Why the President of the United States started his own social media platform so that he could say anything he wanted without any accountability. And in recent years, government departments and agencies, including the police, have resorted to issuing vague statements in lieu of real answers to specific questions from journalists. Ironically, such statements sometimes seem designed to withhold information rather than provide it. As social media continues to reshape the way we communicate, unilateral statements should be received with healthy skepticism. Democracy is better served and society is better informed by genuine dialogue, civil and moderated debate, and robust accountability. I'm Steve Murphy.
And Steve will return. In medical news now, we look at why some online friendships don't help overcome loneliness. That's one of the stories CTV's Amanda Debison has for us tonight in The Lifeline.
A new study says connecting with friends online could be making you lonelier. Researchers found adults who have more social media connections to people they've never met report more feelings of loneliness. But there is a twist. Connecting with close friends on social media didn't make them any less lonely. The study didn't look into causation for these correlations, so it's not known if connecting to strangers online actually makes people lonelier, or if already lonely people are just more likely to do it. One thing we do know from previous research is having friends in the real world reduces loneliness. The study was published in Public Health Reports. It surveyed more than 1,500 adults between the ages of 30 to 70. A new study suggests that mixing up your exercise routine may help you live longer. Researchers in the U.S. looked at national health data from more than 111,000 adults over several decades. The study, published in the BMJ journal, found that people who did a greater variety of physical activities had a lower risk of dying early compared to those who stuck to fewer types of exercise. In fact, those who mixed up their routines the most, switching among workouts like walking, running, tennis, and weight training, had about a 19% lower risk of death. Individual cardio activities, especially walking and running, showed some of the strongest benefits, while racket sports and weight training were also linked to better health. Experts say different types of movement may help the body in different ways, including heart health, strength, and overall fitness. Finally, a hospital in southern Manitoba has canceled surgeries, and it's not because of a shortage of staff or beds. It's because of ants. The Southern Health Authority says an infestation of ants means that 16 elective procedures have to be rescheduled at the hospital in Carman, just southwest of Winnipeg. The work is being shifted elsewhere while an exterminator rids the hospital of the pests. The hospital also had to deal with ants in August 2024. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
With Aaron and Peter.
Join us tomorrow for another Foodie Friday nostalgic edition. Think school lunches that mom never packed.
And we'll give away bike number 8 of 31 from Canadian Tire.
In business news, after a robust day yesterday, the Dow Jones was down today 313 points. And a Canadian mining company is ending operations in Cuba because of those U.S. sanctions. BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez now with details.
Sherrod International has partnered with the island nation to run cobalt and nickel operations for decades. It is one of Cuba's largest foreign investors. Washington has announced sanctions on any foreign person operating in Cuba's metals and mining sectors, so Sherrod's work there is being suspended immediately. Their shares fell 42% today. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar down to 73.27. West Texas Intermediate down to 94.81. Western Canadian Select is down over $6 to 74.47. And the TSX lost 125 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Kaylin's outside. You promised a dandy of a photograph for us.
Yeah, well, it's certainly going to be more interesting than the clouds that are above me right now in the north end of Halifax, which are sort of just that flat gray stratus clouds, a little bit of light drizzle falling. But our picture for tonight, this is a great one. This is coming in from Denise Stairs, and it's sent in out of Temperance Vale, New Brunswick. We got a couple different cloud types here. First of all, the thin, high ones, the ones that kind of look like a paintbrush was kind of stroked across the sky. Those are cirrus clouds. You're not going to get any precipitation out of those. And then the lower ones, little kind of puffy white ones, those are cumulus clouds. When they look like that, they're generally fair weather. But some of those cumulus clouds, as they continue to develop during the day, can sometimes get a little bit darker on the bottom, and the tops of them can develop a little bit more. And it's those ones that can bring you the odd pop-up shower or even small thunder shower. We'll be watching for a couple pop-up showers from some of those developing cumulus clouds tomorrow in the Maritimes. So thanks again, Denise, for sending this in. Temperance Vale for tomorrow. Start of the day should be fairly sunny. A little bit of cloud cover develops in the afternoon. Low chance of a shower, 30-40%, and the high temperature near 14 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow, morning temperatures around the Maritimes, mostly in the range of 4 to 8 degrees. Any fog patches around will be dissipating. And then in the afternoon, it's a mix of sun and cloud. Maybe a couple of those spotty showers developing and passing by. Winds will be out of the northwest for tomorrow, just a bit breezy with some gusts between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. Let's find out what's ahead on your Morning Atlantic.
Friday on Your Morning Atlantic, a first for Nova Scotia.
Yeah, 4 Halifax students just won the Innovation Award at a major championship. We'll meet them and check out their Lego robot.
Start your morning with us Friday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
And finally for us tonight, some more beautiful photographs a little higher up than that last one. These are pictures taken from Artemis 2, and they are being shared with the greater public During its 10-day trip around the moon, the crew, including Canadian Jeremy Hansen, snapped images of the Earth, moon, stars, and solar system in amazing clarity. NASA has now posted more than 12,000 of those snapshots online for everyone to enjoy, including the moon in perfect focus with detailed pictures of the lunar surface where the crew of Artemis 4 hopes to land. There it is, in 2028. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco is here at 11:30. The web and the app have our updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.